Sure, it's okay. Faustin, how did you find the idea for Création du Monde?
This is a piece I've been really having on my mind for almost 10 years.
All right.
It started in 2004 when I first read in a book published in France a year before that, which was a book studying the presence of black characters in French theater for over 500 years. And so in that book I read about La Création du Monde as the first Negro ballet, as they were saying then. So I started researching about it, and the more I learned things about this piece, the more I felt like the need to react to it. But for a long time for me it was like I will never have the means to do this piece because it's huge, and from the very beginning my idea was to make a piece where, because the original piece is so short, it's 17 minutes,
Yeah.
that would have like a reconstruction of the original piece as a quotation, and therefore the piece would be like some form of discourse of which the conclusion can only come after you've gone through a stage where you have the reconstruction. And it's so at first I only wrote a text in 2005, which was like a letter to Jean Borlin and Blaise Cendrars, and which was published in a catalogue for an exhibition that happened in France in 2005. The exhibition was called Montparnasse Noir, and it was about African or black intellectual and artistic presence in France from 1906 to 1966.
Why were they so proud of having the first Negro ballet?
Why were they so proud? I can't say. But I can put that within a more general context of like artists in Europe or in Paris, particularly around there. It started at the beginning of the 20th century, with African masks and sculpture, which later on inspired people like Picasso. But while Picasso never claimed to make any African art, so it was more like an inspiration to have him, explore new directions. It's curious to see that for the performance scene, it had to be claimed as a Negro ballet, and
For entertainment reasons. Oh.
yes, definitely. And that's really something also fascinating for me, because how can they have started from that spot where it's about trying to find a new spring for Europe after World War I and for themselves as well, because Blaise Cendrars had been really traumatized by the war, and he got injured and he was amputated from his right arm. So that's the starting point, but the result is this inoffensive, entertaining piece.
Why were artists at least ignoring colonialism, which was at least a present thing, especially after the First World War?
I don't think it's only the artists. I think artists are also a reflection of the world they live in.
Yeah.
And the world they lived in just chose to ignore colonialism. And even today, the colonial history, at least in France, because you cannot understand that in France there is no post-colonial studies in French universities. So it's like pushing it aside, and this way you keep, by not recognizing that colonial history, you can afford to also not take responsibility for what's going on in the present.
Thank you so much, Faustin.